it's my pleasure to rise in the House today to address C-8. This bill enacts tax and spending measures outlined in the Economics and Fiscal Update. This bill itself has 7 parts. Allow me today the privilege to suggest some highlights as to why the official opposition opposes this. Canadians are listening. Canadians are seeking and deserve more from this government. C-8 adds an additional $70 billion of new inflammatory fuel on the fire. Friends, our national debt has now reached a ridiculous $1.2 trillion.
Shame.
Madam Speaker, since the beginning of this pandemic, this Liberal government has brought in $176 billion in new spending that is unrelated to COVID-19. This Liberal government ensured Canadians that they would find a balance on transparency. I'm not seeing it. Across our country, there are numerous concerns at hand. I see them, I hear them from my riding every single day. We all recognize the importance of stimulus spending. There is a time and there is a place. However, the cost of living is out of control. More dollars chasing fewer goods means higher prices. Groceries. Inflation is hurting every Canadian and every family at the grocery store. Chicken is up 6.2%, for example. Bacon is up 19.1%. Working Canadians are sighing every time they pull into the gas station. Automobile gas is up 33%. The state of our economy is weak. The deficit and national debt are disturbing, and Canadians have caught on. People in Hastings, Lennox and Addington and across this country are being stretched. To quote the parliamentary budget officer, the rationale for the additional spending initially set aside as stimulus no longer exists. Many Canadians are exhausted, financially, emotionally, and mentally. We need to reactivate this economy. We need to have lower taxes, more freedom, smaller government, and regain some optimism and some hope in ourselves and in our governments. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are opposed, Madam Speaker, my regrets, are opposed to Bill C-8. As we come out of COVID-19 pandemic, many Canadians are worried about our economic recovery and security. Unfortunately, debt loads on individuals and all levels of government have imploded. This is putting businesses, jobs, and home ownership at risk. As communities face unprecedented challenges, the current government, sadly, is continuing to reward its insiders. Promises made to our veterans, seniors, small businesses have been broken. Earlier in the House today, we were reminded by a fellow Liberal member that the Liberal government claims that it wants to build back better after this pandemic. They want to do this by spending huge amounts of taxpayers' money. But in my view, they have no realistic plan for this recovery.
That's right.
This Liberal government has a long and proven record of failing to get the job done for Canadians, and Bill C-8 is no exception. Canadians deserve much better from their government.
That's right.
Our lives have changed over the last few years, but it hasn't changed our character. Canadians have overcome adversity in the past,
Hear, hear.
and they will overcome it again.
Hear, hear.
The key to moving past the pandemic in Hastings, Lennox and Addington is to give our communities the tools and resources they need to become more self-reliant and resilient. Governments, regardless of jurisdiction, need to provide the necessary investments in local infrastructure, relief from taxes that stifle productivity, and cut the red tape that inhibits growth. It also includes investing in mental health programs, cleaner energy, supporting our farmers that feed us, and our local businesses that provide for us by creating an environment for new opportunities and investment. I recognize the challenges are steep. The future of Hastings, Lennox and Addington and this country depends on bringing together people and ideas and working on things that unite us as a community, as a riding, and as a country, rather than focusing on those things that divide us.
That's right.
As we come out of this pandemic, the top issues facing this entire country is getting the economy back up and running. A key part of economic recovery is getting people back to work. Let me say first, the best indicator of future performance is past performance. And it should be remembered that the last time that this country faced a crisis, during the 2008-2009 recession, it was a Conservative government and its economic policies that was able to strengthen Canada's fiscal position without jeopardizing the goal of income redistribution.
That's right.
In fact, the same Conservative government's strict fiscal discipline achieved a balanced budget in 2015, and it did not come from raising taxes or cutting transfers to people and provinces and territories. People should also remember that it was a Conservative government that brought in NAFTA, which has had an overwhelmingly positive effect on the Canadian economy. It has opened up new export opportunities for businesses, acted as a stimulus to build internationally competitive businesses, and helped attract foreign investment to Canada. Conservative governments have had a long and distinguished history of cleaning up Liberal messes, and we stand ready to do so again. We need to focus on getting the economy back up on track, bringing back jobs, responsibly balancing the budget, and providing accountability. When COVID-19 hit, the Liberal government wasn't ready. They were caught unprepared, they made poor decisions, and they put lives at risk and crippled our economy.
That's right.
It didn't have to be this way. Canada has faced pandemics before. In recent memory, we were confronted with SARS and H1N1. Each time we learned lessons and prepared for future pandemics. Tragically, the Liberal government undid much of that preparation, cutting funding key programs. They shut down the Global Public Health Intelligence Network, our pandemic early warning system. They let the National Microbiology Laboratory decline, and then depleted Canada's PPE stockpile. They fought with pharmaceutical industry and stacked the Public Health Agency with bureaucrats, not scientists. When COVID-19 emerged, the Liberals were unprepared, slow to respond, and made numerous decisions with tragic consequences. At first, they denied there was no risk to Canada. They waited too long to close the border and ignored warnings of scientists within their own government and across Canada, and the transmissibility and threat of COVID-19. They downplayed the importance of screening at borders, mask wearing, evidence-based contact tracing, and domestic vaccine production. Frontline workers were left to fend for themselves as public health guidance was confused or blocked. There's been several challenges. We need to be ready, and our goal needs to be simple. We need to be prepared, and we need to take rapid actions. We need to be able to protect the health of all Canadians while avoiding long-term impacts on our economy and, of course, on the mental health of all Canadians. Productivity is down, and debt levels are up. Mr. Speaker, I believe we're in a hot mess. The Canadian way of life is being threatened, and many people are fragile.
Yes, absolutely.
We need to reactivate this economy.
Yes.
We need to have lower taxes, more freedom, smaller government, and regain some optimism and hope in ourselves and in our government. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking today with regards to Bill C-8, and we strongly oppose this. I hear day in and day out. The phones ring in my riding offices in Ivanhoe, in Napanee, in my office here in Ottawa. Canadians of all walks of life are exhausted and tired, and we have no room for this additional spending.